2025 is the year you get to visit the African country of your dreams. I'm a Nigerian that has been to at least 9 countries on the continent. Here are my favorite picks from these countries for first-time travelers in 2025. The third city on this list might shock you, but change your life when you visit. Deciding what country to visit depends on what you are interested in, to be honest. You might be an African, you might be a non-African, you might be an African living outside the continent and you're wondering, oh, rather than going to my own country every year, why don't I try another country? You might be interested in safaris, animal-related activities, or you might just want to party on a beach, white sand, living the life. When you've decided what you want, then you can now look at a list of possible options for you. Other things to consider: do you need a visa or not? If you need a visa, is it an e-visa or do you have to go to an embassy? But when you finally decide the country to visit, ensure you do lots of research. I am talking about countries I have visited in the past, so the country you are looking for or you are interested in might not actually be in this video, but anyway, I'm sure one of these cities will convince you. The first city on our list today is Nairobi, Kenya. Kenya is no stranger to visitors. This is a country that relies considerably on tourism dollars, so they go the extra mile to attract as many people as possible. My statement doesn't mean that Kenya doesn't earn from other sources of income, but I know that has caused some issues in the comments in past videos. So the first step to going to Kenya is applying for an ETA. They say it's not a visa, but it looks like a visa, it quacks like a visa, and it seems like a visa. You have to apply at least 72 hours before your flight, and it costs $30 for most countries. I don't know if your country would need that, because I know that some East African countries do not need to apply for the ETA, but keep that in mind. Kenya Airways has been on a growth trajectory over the last few years, and that means that it is now one of the largest and most competent airlines on the continent. I believe that having a reliable local airline is key to making any country a successful tourism spot. We've seen it done in the Middle East. Almost every Middle Eastern country has a strong carrier, and this carrier has pretty much funnel visitors into the countries. So Kenya Airways is tapping into that tourism drive. You might also need to get necessary shots and a yellow card. It depends on your country and it depends on the rules, so check up on that before you travel. And the things I've mentioned so far are kind of applicable to most other cities on this list, so I won't be talking about them again. It goes without saying that Nairobi is one of my favorite cities in Africa. After what must have felt like a decade of waiting, I finally made it to Kenya this year and it was a great experience, but my next visit is gonna be better. Mombasa and Diani, technically 2 cities, but you can treat them as one. Amazing beaches, white sand, the whole 9 yards, and I'm sure you want to visit the Masai Mara National Park. I'm not gonna blame you. It's an amazing spot that everybody should visit. There's a lot to do in Kenya and it will be very hard for you to go wrong. Knock yourself out when you go to Nairobi, but don't stay in Nairobi throughout. If you're enjoying the video so far, you should consider subscribing. It really helps and it tells YouTube that you like this type of content. The next city on my list is another wonderful city that I'm in love with, and that would be Accra, Ghana. Accra was the first city I ever visited outside my country, and Ghana was the first country I ever visited for obvious reasons. Accra has become one of the choice destinations in West Africa for Ghanaians and non-Ghanaians, and successfully made Ghana a tourism spot for non-Ghanaians, so that's really big for them. If you're looking for beach vibes, parties, the whole 9 yards, then you should look no further than Accra, Ghana. It's one of the lifestyle and party capitals in Africa, in my opinion. Ghanaians know how to party and they know how to party hard. My first time in Ghana, I went for a beach show. I think it at Labadi Beach. I do not remember the name, but R2Bs were there. Amazing experience. The weather might be a bit harsh for some people. Coastal West Africa get incredibly hot and humid most of the year, so you might want to prepare for that if you've never experienced that type of weather. And similar to Nairobi, how dare you go to Ghana and not go beyond Accra? Kumasi is the second largest city for a reason. Go out there and see all there is to see. A perfect blend of culture and modernity. Cape Coast is another major city, but I would advise everybody to go there specifically for the slavery installations, so that we can learn about what has been done to us as a race, so these things do not get repeated. December is the most active time to be in Ghana. I don't know if it's called Dirty December out there, but in Nigeria it's called Dirty December. You know how it goes down. I'm sorry, I do not know much about Ghanaian visa processes and price, but I'm sure a quick search on the internet will answer all your questions. The next city on my list might seem a bit controversial, but I'm going to make a case for it. And that city is Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I understand that Nigeria isn't necessarily the most visited country by non-Nigerians, but I feel if you're a traveler within Africa and you're yet to visit Abuja, then you're really missing out on something spectacular. Abuja is one of Africa's youngest city and certainly one of the youngest in the country. Established as the nation's capital in 1991, it was planned from the ground up, and when people ask me that, yo, Musa, I want to come to Nigeria, I was like, do you really have to go to Lagos? If there's nothing calling you, if there's no concrete reason for you to be in Lagos, definitely go to Abuja. If you have the money, you can do both cities, but Abuja gives the best value for money and you get to see the country in a calmer state. So if you have been planning to visit Nigeria and you do not have to be in Lagos, then definitely go to Abuja. Abuja is an example of what can be done not just across this country but across the continent to create better cities that work pretty much. As mentioned earlier, the Nigerian visa is not the easiest to get. I have no idea why the Nigerian visa is so hard, but if you need a visa to come to the country, then it might not be worth it for you. I personally would not go to the stress of applying for a Nigerian visa if I weren't a Nigerian. Abuja is also well known for being like a rich-ish city. There is a very active supercar scene, living the rich lifestyle that you deserve. Hiking is also big in Abuja, but I wouldn't advise you to go hiking alone. Try to liaise with a tour company or with locals before you go hiking. Unfortunately, I have not been to the city in a while, so what you are seeing on the screen is stock footage, but definitely in due time I plan to return to the country once I'm done gallivanting across Africa. If you've not considered Abuja, Nigeria, then you definitely should look into visiting this city. If you are still here, then you obviously enjoy the video or you are gaining value from it. Why don't you just click the subscribe button, then like the video? It really goes a long way to help. The final city and country in this video is none other than Kigali, Rwanda. There is no way I would make any lists of places to visit in Africa and I wouldn't put Rwanda there. For the last 2 years, Rwanda has been touted as Africa's cleanest country and Kigali as Africa's cleanest city/capital. I always had my skepticism until I went to the country and I saw that, oh, these people are about their life. They talk the talk and they walk the walk. Rwanda has been on a crazy drive to make itself more accessible and attractive for visitors, easing visa rules like making the country visa free for all Africans. Kigali is a very cute city. It's not the largest, it's a bit illy, has great people, but if you are interacting with everyday people that do not work in the service industry, like the tourism service industry, they might not speak English with you because English is not widely spoken here. The weather is amazing as the country is 1,500-ish meters above sea level, so for most of the year it's very cool, it's very calm, and while I was there it was very calm, but it rained randomly, which was very annoying. Rwanda is the lingua franca. If you go to the country like I did, expecting regular people to speak English, you would be disappointed. There is next to zero corruption in this country, and it's one of the few countries I've visited where I felt truly at peace, more at peace than I felt in my own country, and that says a lot. Kigali officially became one of my favorite cities. Yes, it might be a bit boring for many people, and in the conventional way of saying it, it is quite boring. Clubs are required to close by 2 a.m. and all, but it works for me because it's Africa without the baggage of being in Africa. I always tell people, if you go to Rwanda and you're leaving, you are re-entering Africa, because I do not consider Rwanda to be part of Africa. While you are in the country, you should consider visiting other cities like Uye, Gisenyi, and Akagera National Park. You will not regret it. If you can, you should consider supporting my channel by becoming a member or gifting super thanks. As a small YouTuber, it helps a lot and costs as little as $1. This video is based on my experiences. I am not talking about cities and countries that I've never been to, because that would just be me spouting nonsense. I am speaking from experience and telling you that these are the countries I've been to. If you'd like to visit them, this is what I think about them. 2025 is a year where I plan plan to revisit some of the old countries I've been to while discovering new ones. It promises to be an exciting year and you should not miss the experience. Subscribe and turn on the notification because we're going to be traveling back to back to back. As a traveler within Africa, I always tell people to expect corruption but find ways to overcome it, and as much as possible fight back against it. You can click the video on screen now because I created it with you in mind and I'm sure you will love it. Until the next video, your friend from the Ukodo YouTube channel wishes you love, peace and prosperity.